Hey, what is up, music lovers of YouTube? You know, on this channel, I get hit with a lot of requests from you guys, from you subscribers out there. I've checked out a lot of new drummers on this channel. I've checked out a lot of new bands. I've gotten hip to a lot of songs and a lot of albums thanks to you guys. So on this video, I'm gonna give back. I'm gonna give you my top five, let's put it this way, 5 of my favorite albums of all time. And I guarantee there's gonna be a bunch of surprises in there. And I'm going to guarantee there's going to be albums that you've never heard of. You know, one of the common criticisms I get on this channel is people saying,
there's no way you haven't heard of this.
Well, I can guarantee you there's going to be yes way that you have not heard of some of mine as well. Trust me, it happened.
That's what he said, right, guys?
And guys, hit me in the comments section with your top 5 albums. With that said, let's get going. All right, we're going to start with the oldest album on my list, and that is Sunday at the Village Vanguard by Bill Evans. Oh my God, it is like listening to a dream. Not one of those scary dreams, like one of those dreams that you just do not want to wake up from. I cannot even explain how beautiful the playing on this album is. Scott LaFaro on bass, Bill Evans on piano, and the one and only completely underrated Paul Motion on drums. Now, there's just so many things about this album. The playing is just gorgeous. The sound, you can hear people in the room. It's a live recording. You can hear people, clapping and, drinks clinking. It is such a vibe. If you want a classy dinner party sort of music to put on, or, you can listen to this album many different ways. It can be classy background music, sure. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to have some classy background music, you do it. It doesn't get any classier than this. Or you can listen to the interplay between these 3 masters of their craft. And just as a sad side note, Scott LaFaro, one of the most influential jazz bassists of all time, died 11 days after recording this, aged 25. I mean, check him out. He is something. First album recommendation, Sunday at the Village Vanguard by Bill Evans. Dear Lord, it is just astounding. Now we're going to take a real left turn for album number 2 on my list. I'm going to start going in order from oldest to most modern. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, 1987. Now, this is an album that you all know. You all know the band Guns N' Roses. You all know about Appetite for Destruction. We all know Sweet Child, and sure. This album has some of the best hard rock drumming you're ever gonna hear. Now, I know Steven Adler, I heard an interview with the engineer, and he was talking about how Steven Adler smashed out the drums for this in 2 weeks. And you know what? Despite his battles since the recording of the album and, much publicized, parted ways with Guns N' Roses, he still got it. It is the ultimate tune flat, hit hard, iconic hard rock drum sound, and never been beaten. The capture, the engineering, the performance by Steven Adler, mind-blowing. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to go,
Steven Adler, Guns N' Roses, what? You telling me I could play that?
No, you can't. And this album, I mean, sure, we all got hit with the big hits, Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, and Welcome to the Jungle. I think those were the 3 really big hits on the album, but there are just no weak sisters on this album at all. It's so easy. Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, My Michelle, Thinking About You, You're Crazy, Anything Goes, Rocker Queen. It is just a top to bottom absolute banger of an album. It's one of those albums that captures a moment in time, and it's a snapshot of the band, sort of like the most dangerous band at the time. I always feel like a great rock band should almost feel like everything's gonna fall apart at any time, and Guns N' Roses were certainly an example of that. I don't think they ever reached those heights again, in my personal opinion, and I don't even know if Axl ever sounded that good again, but I mean, the vocal performance, top to bottom on this album, incredible. The rhythm section, you got to pay attention to the rhythm section. Izzy, Duff, Axl, and Slash were the superstars that, came out of the band, but dig in a little bit deeper, have a really good listen. It is something special. All right, let's move on to the next one, and that is Temple of the Dog. Now, this album was released in 1991. It is a collection tribute album, really, to a fallen comrade of the band from that Seattle grunge scene. Now, the album contains members of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, mixed together to create, I guess, I don't think you could call it a super band because, they were, they weren't at their peak yet, but they were not far away from it. 1991, I think recorded in 90, if I'm right. And, you might know the song Hunger Strike. That was a hit off the album, and Say Hello to Heaven, I believe, was also released as a single. But again, much like that previous album, I mean, there's just no weak songs on the whole album. Now, if you're going to check out one song, check out the final track, All Night Thing. It is just a Matt Cameron drumming masterclass. And Chris Cornell, you know what? I'm a big fan of Chris Cornell. I don't think he's ever sounded better. Phenomenal album. A really special album. And some of you out there, people that I've gone in contact with, subscribers that, I've become friends with and talk back and forth. And, as I said, like, you guys have recommended a lot of songs and bands and albums for me. This is one that I've offered back and just said, this is a really special album for me. I want you to check it out. And I'll say that to all of you. It is a real work of art. Go check it out. All right, we are up to album number 4. And it is, you're never going to guess who it is. It is the Afro-Cuban All-Stars, A Toda Cuba Le Gusta. Man, this album, I mean, all these albums are special to me. They're, top 5 desert island albums for me. So, of course, I'm just going to wax lyrical about all of them. Again, top to bottom, check it out. I'm a huge fan of Cuban music. If you're only going to check out one song from the album, you can't go past the first song. I mean, if you're only going to check out one song just to see, if it's your type of thing, I don't think you can go past Habana del Este, song 3, the whole thing, though. Bio Mentiroso, Maria Caracoles, track 8. Is the one that starts off with a big conga solo. Now, this is an interesting album because I'm going to read you from the back of the cover art here. The Afro-Cuban All-Stars is a gathering of 4 generations of Cuba's most brilliant musicians, coming together for the first time in a Havana studio to play a repertoire of old and new classics. Their performances highlight the unique depth, variety, and vitality of Cuban music. And that summed it up. Their performances highlight the unique depth, variety, and vitality of Cuban music. I mean, if you do not feel inspired and if you do not feel something from listening to that album, you may need to check your pulse. You could perhaps be a zombie and you might not be alive. It is so vibrant and so beautiful, and it's an album with no drum kit on it. It is indeed, typical classic Cuban music setup, classic, Cuban orchestra, timbales, congas, bongos, various percussion, no drum set. And it is just a treat for the ears. I can't believe I just said a treat for the ears, but it is just gorgeous. All right, are you ready for the 5th and final pick of my Desert Island, 5 of my top favorite albums of all time? Drum roll, please. Random Access Memories by Daft Punk 2013. Man. Now, this album is an absolute love letter from the group Daft Punk to 70s and 80s American, or specifically LA, that LA session sound of the 70s and 80s. And the unique thing about this album is that they actually went and got those players. So you could tell Daft Punk have a deep respect for musicians and, beautiful samples and just classy quality session players. You can hear it straight away with their selection of samples, the sounds they go for, even in their music before this album came out. But then this album came out with, with the actual players on it. They went and got the guys, the actual people from those 70s and 80s albums who are still very active today. Guys like J.R. Robinson, Omar Hakim, the two drummers used on the album, Nathan East on bass, one of my favorite bass players of all time, Paul Jackson Jr., guys like that were playing on those 70s and 80s sessions and just had that impeccable tone, time, and sound, who created all those 70s and 80s hits. They used them for this love letter to that time period. It's so genius. Now, no penny or dime or dollar or euro or British pound was spared in making this album. It is absolutely pristine and brilliant. Now, you will know some of the songs off this. You won't be able to get away from them. I think Get Lucky, with Pharrell on vocals, was probably the big hit from the album. But again, like all the albums that I've suggested today, top to bottom, dig in, have a listen to those album tracks. There is just some absolute gold in there. Go get it. Guys, I hope you have dug these 5 selections. I hope you're surprised by some of them. I hope you're inspired to go out and check out some of these albums. They are well worth a listen. And I'd love for you to hit me in the comment section with your top 5 picks. While you're there, let me know, what do you think of those albums that I suggested? I'm sure there's going to be a couple there that you're like, man, I've never heard that. There's going to be an even smaller selection of you guys out there who actually go and check it out. If that is you, if you went, just take a punt and you go, all right, I'm going to go check out Sunday at the Village Vanguard by Bill Evans. I'm going to give it a listen. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know your thoughts. All right. With that said, I hope you dug this video. Until next time, take it easy. Keep chopping wood. Ciao.